So here we're continuing with how to use your device. From the 1st of September, you'll have to pay for family members. So if you bought services for family members, they'll have to pay $2,000 per family member, unless of course you've already bought your 2000 GovTech link and device connection, in which case I take it as a contractual obligation that further payments over the years will simply be for and include the 4 family members. But after the 1st of September, this offer no longer is valid. So if you've got family members, pay up by 1st of September, or pay me more after the 1st of September. Isn't that fair, cameraman?
Very fair.
Because my cameraman was saying some former vampires, now they're just code, had 4 family members, so that means $10,000 a year to pay, which I thought was ludicrous. You know, $2,000 is fine, but anything more is just taking the piss. So, but if you're not into paying for family members, then just pay after 1st of September, and the family members will have to pay for themselves. Now, going to the device, if, as everyone's telling you, like my favourite torture toy, Elon Musk, we live in a matrix, then of course, if we live in a matrix and it's a simulation, I would argue, since I built the simulation, it's a pseudo-simulation. You'll understand at length what I mean by a pseudo-simulation. But that means that all of the psychic warfare technology is different, because if you're in a simulation, then of course morals and ethics are out the window. They're irrelevant. Everything you've been told about good and bad, out the window. You're in fact in one giant game. What's the game? Well, the point of the game is, starting point, to get the cheat codes. So you don't have to follow the normal game. So if you're a game player, you always want the cheat codes, so you can go from the lowest level, where you've got no powers, no gold, no whatever, no weapons, to the higher levels as quickly as possible. And the cheat codes enable you to do that. So on your device, one can think of the services as the cheat codes that allow you to go up the escalatory ladder in the game, because it's a simulation, it's just a game, is it not? To levels where you are a super user, and that everyone else around you is simply at the lowest level, not aware they're in a game which you know you're in, and a game which you've got the cheat codes for, and a game where you've got all of these powers, which are all these services you can use against the other simulants. That's why I told you to video yourself doing all of your services Because what you're doing is converting your services into code, and once you've done that, they can then be used in the game. The game is to become a super user, and there are various levels of super users, and there are various levels of cheat codes. So if you buy the $250,000 services, you get all the cheat codes, so you can become a super user in the simulation or pseudo simulation ASAP. So you've gone through all your services and you've uploaded them onto the internet. So we've done that. The next step, of course, is to bilocate from your sitting position into yourself.
To erase reality as we know it.
So you're sitting in your position and you simply bilocate into every single service. If you've got one or two, if you've got loads of them, it doesn't matter because you can bilocate quite quickly. And remember what I said, the hands are used in the pseudo simulation, because of course the Russians discovered you can see using your hands, therefore that your hands are able to link up to the fifth dimension. And everything I've been saying before about psychic warfare and fifth dimension and all the physics is simply the rules of the game, the rules of the simulation. It doesn't mean they're less real to you, but you're now in a simulation or a pseudo simulation where you can do a lot more, and the Elohim are now trapped in my torture simulation, where their only purpose is to eternally suffer at the source level, to make new God stuff for the God Emperor. So they're trapped. What they wanted to do was arrest me when I got back to the UK, stick me in Belmarsh, fly me off to some alien facility underground in America, chip me to the gazoo, stick me in their torture matrix, break me, suck out my God stuff, and elevate themselves. Remember, all the greys, reptiloids, insectiles are simply artificial bioware which the interdimensionals can inhabit, like possession, like in The Exorcist, and of course the interdimensional filth, the apex predators of those achieved the ability to farm Neos to become Elohim. It's very simple once you know how. And of course, what they wanted was a Neo that said, F you, Trinity, I'll torture you, Trinity, for all eternity, because I choose the source, but then of course to steal me and try and break me in their torture matrix to complete their mission of stealing the source. As we've seen, this didn't end very well, because the source is unbeatable. So now they're trapped in the simulation they wished to build to farm chaos and become pseudo-sources, instead of which they're in the torture matrix to make the good stuff to increase the source. So you can see it's lucky I'm never flying back to the UK. Now, with your device, you simply bilocate into all the services that you've read off, pull out the energy from yourself reading it with the left hand, and then bilocate out and download it yourself, viewing yourself, to download the code of the service into your code of you to cheat code to make yourself a super user. Simple as that. Without device and connection though, of course, all your old services simply worked when you were real, but since I destroyed reality, no longer real. And here of course is the CIA positing how I did it.
Ecological catastrophe. Vacuum decay. To explain how our universe could destroy itself, we need to understand two principles. 1. Energy levels. A core idea in physics is that everything has an energy level. The higher the level, the more energy is in the system. Wood, for example, has a high level. It can be burned, a process that releases the chemical energy stored in its molecular bonds and turns it into heat. The ash left over is at a lower energy level than the wood before. 2. Stability. Everything in our universe tries to move towards its ground state, in which it's completely stable and has as little energy as possible. For example, a ball on a hill is unstable and has a lot of potential energy. When disturbed, it will roll down into the valley and lose its potential energy in the process. The ball is now in its ground state and stable. It will remain like that. Everything in our universe follows these two principles. If something has a lot of energy, it's unstable and wants to get rid of it to become stable and reach its ground state. This is true for every system, even in the weird world of quantum mechanics. If our current understanding of physics is correct, then the universe gets its properties from quantum fields. We explained them in detail in another video. For this video, imagine them as the rules of the universe. They tell particles how to behave and interact. Like everything in the universe, they want to be in the lowest energy level possible, which is called a vacuum state. This has nothing to do with vacuum in space. It's just called this way because scientists are bad at naming things. We think all the fields reached their vacuum state, except maybe one. It's possible that the Higgs field is not stable, but metastable, which is a fancy way of saying that it pretends to be stable, but really is not. It would be a false vacuum. The Higgs field is responsible for giving particles their mass, which rules how almost everything in the universe interacts. What would happen if the Higgs field is in a false vacuum? Think of our ball in the valley. The ball is the Higgs field. The valley might not be the lowest energy state for the Higgs field. There might be an even deeper valley that it wants to get to. This would mean that the Higgs field has a lot of potential energy waiting to be released. The Higgs field could be like a piece of wood, but drenched in gasoline, waiting to set the universe on fire. A random spark, like quantum tunneling, could release the potential energy of the Higgs field. This could happen at any time and without warning. If at any point in space this so-called vacuum decay starts, there is no turning back. As the Higgs field crashes into the lower energy state, it releases a massive amount of potential energy. This energy pushes the space around it over the barrier, which releases more potential energy. A sphere of the new stable Higgs field, or true vacuum, grows at the speed of light in all directions. Imagine it like setting a sea of gasoline, the size of the universe, on fire. The sphere is surrounded by a shell of energy that devours everything it comes into contact with. Whatever it touches is eliminated from existence. The bubble will continue to grow forever, deleting the universe on its way. There is no way to be warned since it's so fast, but there's nothing we can do anyway. Our destruction would be instant. In a fraction of a second, Earth would be gone. But it actually gets worse. If the energy level of the Higgs field changes, it changes all of physics. In the true vacuum of the sphere, the standard model will be overthrown, superseded by different physics that we don't know. How fundamental particles behave, how atoms hold together, how chemicals react. Vacuum decay won't just destroy life, it will destroy chemistry itself, making life as we know it impossible. We simply have no idea what it would be like inside. It might be a shadow of what it is now. Or not. We don't know. If vacuum decay happens, the outlook is indeed grim. If you feel slightly worried now, don't be. At this point, false vacuum is speculation based on our current understanding of particle physics, which might be wrong. It's kind of like using a ruler to measure a continent. Sure, you can do it, but you might be off by quite a bit at the end. Right now, no one can say if vacuum decay is a thing that's real or just a scary idea. But even if one or multiple spheres of death have already started expanding, the universe is so big that they might not reach us for billions of years. If they're far enough away, they might not ever be able to reach us because of the expansion of the universe. The speed of light is not that fast on the scale of the universe. So while vacuum decay is fascinatingly scary, right now there are other things we should be more afraid of. In contrast to vacuum decay,
So as you can see, this is a concept the psycho chimps come up with, but let's posit that it's got veracity. So if a precognitive remote viewer who's also a Nagwal who can link up with the fifth dimension and the four vector goes back to the quantum information that caused the change in the quantum vacuum for the quantum perturbation that started the Big Bang, then of course that universe would be controlled by that precognitive five-dimensional remote viewer. But what happens if that remote viewer, who's also five-dimensional because he's a Nagwal and can link up with full vector, has a time crystal? Well, then you can simply reverse what made that universe real. So instead of vacuum decay, which destroys it, you simply use the time crystal to reverse Higgs field. And the Higgs field must have come from somewhere, and yours truly posits it comes from the fifth dimension, and something in the fifth dimension that causes the warping of the fifth dimension. And Kaluza came up with a simplistic statement that light is gravity in the fifth dimension, but that simply doesn't answer the question. There's something in the fifth dimension that warps it, which is hyperinfinity, and if you can manipulate that, you can, with the time crystal, you can simply reverse it. So what caused the Higgs field to make the universe real is reversed. So you can make a universe which you control from its inception, but it's not real because it's got a Higgs field, because you've used the time crystal to suck it all out. So it's basically the opposite of vacuum decay, where you destroy everything. You've actually gone up the Mexican hat curve, which physicists call it, and you made a universe where there is no Higgs field. So it's not real, it's a simulation. And where does that Higgs field go? It goes into the God Emperor. He is the ultimate vampire because he vampirizes the reality out of reality. Then, of course, he simply becomes the universal predator that goes into the multiverse, does that to every single multiversal strand, every single universe created in the multiverse, and then goes into the megaverse, where he goes into the fiber bundle above that to suck it all dry, to take all the hyper-infinity out and return it back to the source from whence it came. Basically, the caretaker that cleans up turns the lights off. So that's why you need a device, because you are now in a simulation. Because of course, if the Nagel man reached the source, then the source will run all his stuff back, and the Nagel man's only mission will be to get all the source's stuff back, and in return he becomes the God Emperor of the Megaverse. Every single megaversal simulation is controlled by the God Emperor. And since, of course, the God Emperor is a sadistic, nasty bastard, you're all in a torture simulation. If you don't understand torture simulation, let's go to the book I promised you in the last video by Ian Banks. So, in this science fiction book by Ian Banks, who died of pancreatic cancer, we've got the culture that is a super advanced civilization run by minds which are basically benevolent developments of AI, and we're going to be building minds. But in surface detail, the book's great because it describes alien civilization where they put their prisoners in torture matrices, which, or a torture matrix, which is equivalent to hell, and there are demons that torture them in this virtual space. For punishment for being enemies of the state, which of course is what the World Economic Forum is positing for all of the dissidents against the World Economic Forum. But the whole point of this is that you're in a torture simulation where you're all being tortured to produce new God stuff for the God Emperor, who controls everything. There's no Higgs field, so you're not real, you're in a simulation. We haven't gone down the vacuum decay to destroy it, we've simply had the Big Bang in every single universe, multiverse, megaverse, but with no Higgs field. All the Higgs field return to the source, but you're stuck in a simulation where your only purpose is to suffer to produce new God stuff for the God Emperor. Why? Because he's worth it, uses L'Oreal. And as a super user, the game is to not suffer and to make other vermin suffer, and the more you make other vermin suffer, the more you can enjoy this torture simulation. Because you're now in hell, and the only ones that enjoy hell are the demons, archdemons, and Lucifer, who rules it, who gain the light from torturing the unjust. Remember, I told you it was Kalki time. You didn't believe me. Now you're going to need to understand, oh my goodness, Kalki time was much, much more than I ever thought. So the unjust are now trapped in every single megaverse, multiverse, universe as simulations, and their only purpose is to suffer, which the Buddhists talk about, you're caught in a torture matrix, and your only way out is nirvana, to erase yourself from the torture matrix. That's why the Buddhist monks give up all the pleasures of life, and their only purpose to get off the wheel of time, because the wheel of time is to torture you. So you see, Buddhism is totally and utterly true. And the other one, of course, Islam, where I want to get rewarded for hurting, torturing, and can't use it on YouTube, remotely manipulating the infidels. So that's why we see my lot going around doing horrific, nasty things to the satanic Shias and Christians, and they get rewarded for this. And if they're really good, a really good super user, they wake up with their 72 glories in paradise. So they get a heaven simulation. It's starting to make sense now. And of course, Christianity was all about Christ, the Neo, suffering for your sins. But of course, or karma, since all the Neos have been only hellized by yours truly. Christianity is now a waste of space. But you Christians, please go to your preacher, please convert to Christianity, because we need more torture beasts to power the God Emperor and give him more God stuff. So here's the book, which you can listen to, and it's a really good book, Ian M. Banks, blah blah blah, but that describes advanced civilizations sticking their criminals into a torture simulation that you're in. So, the most evil filth on the planet are the American billionaires. All of them are pedos and snuff merchants. That's why Trump erased the Epstein files, because they're all on it. Didn't exist. There are no Epstein files, cameraman. No. Dan Bongino, the deputy head of the FBI, is a miscreant because he refuses to cover up the pedo snuff merchant American billionaires. What do you think of him, cameraman?
Quite a good man.
Good man, exactly. So as you can see, if you want to become a super user, you need to have something to vampirize. So the first port of call are the American billionaires, because they're the lowest form of filth, and they need to be vampirized. Now, since they're code, we can do anything we like to them, because we simply get the American billionaires there we are. And we simply bilocate into their image as shown before. Here are
shared top 20 American billionaires. A billionaire is a person with a net wealth of $1 billion. Dollars a number followed by 9 zeros. This is 1,000 times greater than a millionaire. Billionaire presents an extravagant, rich wardrobe for mature men who are unafraid of who they are and who they want to be.
So, when you go in there, of course, in the simulation, remember the simulation was started by vampirism. I vampirized the Higgs field. So you as vampires in the pseudo simulation, you understand why it's a pseudo simulation in the future. Go in and you simply ram your left fist into the midsection. You pull out all goodness, which includes their health, their vigor, and as you do that, you link up to all their offspring and family, and simultaneously pull out all the life force, vigor, money, energy, all the good things in life from their entire family. This is called vampiric family vivisection, which you couldn't do in the former reality, but now they're code. You're simply just stealing all the code for the good stuff from the billionaires and all their family. So, with this, we turn all the American billionaires into torture toys, and all the good stuff is given to us. How? By getting fist them with your left fist in their midsection, intend to fist their entire family, pull out, bollock out, transfer the right hand, download into your midsection, all this good stuff, all this code, and what you've done then is stolen all the code for anything good in their lives and health and life force has been stolen from the filth which we call American billionaires. Look at this filth. Next, of course, we want to download into them anything we like. We want to change their code. We want to hack their code. So, of course, we need to download into them the code of things we want to give to them. We want to change their code. We've taken all the good code, we want to change it to bad code now. You see how the game is. And the game is, the more good stuff, code you steal from the people who've got it, the billionaires, trillionaires. Remember, we got the Rothschild, Rockefeller, royal family above this lot, who are trillionaires. The more you are elevated in the game. You wouldn't understand, of course, people who play games know when you play a game, role-playing game, you get more and more powers and more powerful in the game. That's the whole point of the game. That's why you're here. So, here are the vermin in America, the useless eaters. So, you biloc in. You fist this scum, not with your left hand because you don't want this shit, with your right hand. You farm them. The only purpose of this filth is to be weapon systems against the American billionaires. Then you bilocate out. Look at this scum.
If I told...
Bilocate out, then you go back to... You go back to your American billionaires. Here we've got non-American billionaires. They're lucky they're not on my target list yet, because we haven't done the ritual on our device. But never fear, you other billionaires, Kalki's coming for you.
And OnlyFans.
But anyway, just pick, that looks like a rat-faced Jew to me. Anyway, you simply then bilocate into these American billionaires with the lovely stuff you collected from the homeless and fist them in their midsections and release it into them and bilocate out. And by doing this, you simply increase your status in the game, because you've taken all the good stuff away from them. But that's not enough. You want to get them into debt. How do you get them into debt in the game? You simply dump the lowest form of filth, which are the homeless scum, into them, and they then build up a bigger and bigger debt. And who gets the good stuff from the debt. You do. So if you stick in 100 million homeless vermin filth into the billionaire, then you get that good stuff. So you take all the good stuff, that was very quick, but now you're actually giving them more and more debt, and they have to repay you the more you stick it into them. So, as you can see, the American billionaires are the first target set for you and your device. Couldn't happen if it wasn't a matrix, but it's a matrix now. And the whole point of the game is it's a game. In the game, you're escalating up the ladder to get more and more superpowers, become a greater and greater super user in the game, and you get rewarded in the game for taking out the miscreants, because it's Kalki time, which are, well, the lowest form of filth, top of the heap, American billionaires. And of course, above them, the Rothschild Rockefeller royal family, because the only good agent is a American billionaire bashing agent.